Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2009 comedy drama titled Funny People. Now, Funny People runs for 1 hour and 46 minutes. It is directed by Judd Apatow. It is produced by Judd Apatow, Clayton Townshend, and Barry Mendel. The script was also written by Judd Apatow. The score was done by Jason Schawrtzman and Michael Andrews. The cinematography by Janusz Kaminski, and the editing was done by Brent White and Craig Alpert. And the stars of the movie are Adam Sandler. We got Seth Rogan, Leslie Mann. We also have Eric Bana, Jason Schawrtzman, and Jonah Hill. Plus, also we have cameos from top-notch celebrities, including Norm Macdonald, Paul Reiser, a few other ones too. Also, some speaking parts from some of these famous celebs include Eminem, Romano and James Taylor. So when it comes to comedy, this is about as good as they come, and I say take it like a grain of salt or simply don't watch it at all. So it's as simple as that. Like a great scientist, filmmakers also like to experiment, to try new things each and every day, stepping out of formulaic monotony to see if sincerity has a place in the realm of comedy, even if that sincerity has some drama added to the fold. In 2009, filmmaker scientist Judd Apatow, who's famous for giving us outrageous comedies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, was in his lair to combine this level of comedy mixed with a new direction of where the comedy drama can take you, and Funny People clearly personifies that. That's right, folks. You don't necessarily have to have a PhD in chemical biology to experiment. You don't necessarily need a master's degree in engineering to conduct an experiment. You don't need to be a scientist. All you just got to do is be an average, normal human being ready to step out, explore different avenues, and try something new. The worst thing you could do is blow up in your face. Well, maybe not literally, but you know, figure of speech. And just take caution with the wind. That's kind of like what the gist of this movie is. This new blend of comedy is about taking risks, and the effort comes at the price of success or failure. But the adventure of trying new things is what matters most. Peaking at the 2 hour and 20-minute frame. Did I say an hour and 46 minutes long? Yeah, I meant 146 minutes long. So that's actually 2 hours and 26 minutes to be exact. Sorry about my math. Math was never one of my strongest subjects in school. This movie has a leaning appeal toward the European style of comedy as opposed to the American spectrum. The plot structure is still loose, but the involvement in the characters' lives are definitely quite different. And not to mention, sufficient. With a lack of set pieces and interactions with the characters are organic, we can signal every laugh from the performers, who they themselves know that what they are saying is funny. And then we get to the main plot, where a famous comedian by the name of George Simmons, played by Adam Sandler, like I said, you know, this guy, aside from being a very successful comedian, he's a very popular celebrity. even though, he has not settled down with a single mate. He's promiscuous. He's a womanizer. He thinks he's on top of the world. He probably thinks he's a superhuman who's adjusted to the happy life that he is, lives in a big mansion, and he can practically get away with whatever he wants. He can bring as many women as he can and screw around with them. But we realize that underneath all that layer of fame and fortune, we actually see a actually pretty sad guy, a pretty lonely individual, a very unsettling individual. I mean, his fame and fortune could be just taken away in a snap of a finger, like life itself. It could come at you unexpectedly. So George Simmons has just discovered that he has a terminal illness and is now fighting for his life. Not to worry, this is far from a sentimental disease of the week tear fest. So if you like films centering around films that are optimistic even in grim times, then this movie is pretty much so be it. Don't worry, like I said, it's not a disease of the week thing. This is not a movie to help expand your depressions. No, this movie is supposed to probably more or less try to take you away from whatever's ailing you. So if you have a tissue box nearby, just push it out of the way. Because don't worry, this is not an emotional tearjerker. Sure, this guy is battling a terminal illness, but it's very light in its subject matter, I guarantee you. So Apatow has faith in his audience as they will adapt to his interest, being that in the world of comedy, you'll definitely meet some interesting people, along with the people who are intrigued by it. George hires an aspiring young comedian named Ira Wright, played by Seth Rogan, and makes him his personal assistant. Through the eyes of Ira, we get a front row view of opportunity comes once in a lifetime, and that fame is not far behind. Many people might say that Ira, aside from getting this opportunity to be a assistant to the veteran comedian, you may think that, hey, this could be the door to a successful acting career. This is his way to get his foot in the door, so to speak. Of course, having fame and wealth could have its fair share of rewards and setbacks, as Apatow balances both sides proportionately. George's success has him riding in limos, flying in jets, and making out with women, preferably ones who aren't celebrities. But aside from the luxury comes some setbacks. He really has very few people he can call a friend because they lost contact once he became famous, and nobody can regard him as an average human, just a celebrity, rich, pampered, and withdrawn. So, you think money and fame can always buy happiness? No, it can also generate loneliness. Sure, you'll be limo riding and jet flying and having champagne poured through a stiletto heel. But in the end, you're not fooling anybody when you're saying that you have all the friends in the world, because in reality, it's not very likely to happen. Not everybody wants to be friends with somebody who has everything. The fame, the success, the disparity, and isolation are the key elements to the character traits of Simmons, and Sandler plays them off brilliantly. George has to find ways to fend off his strong fan base while at the same time trying to refrain from completely dismissing them. Sandler, who's speaking from experience, definitely knows the hypocrisy of fame, where celebrities on camera are your friends watching your back, only to discover it's pretty much all superficial. So although the fame and success may give you friends on the outside, deep down inside, you're nothing but just a person behind the camera who just happens to be ironically making tons and tons of money. Like I said, this is like a comedy with some drama implemented into it, but it also has a lot of real life philosophy about the whole thing about fame and fortune does not always bring happiness. That doesn't mean that, Apatow is trying to step out of the comedy element to go into drama. There's plenty of funny scenes, and there are also a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of cameos from well-known celebrities who probably have been in the same similar path that George Simmons has been facing up. There are some funny scenes which involves rapper Eminem. We also have cameo scenes with comedian and TV star Ray Romano. And, of course, let's not forget about longtime folk pop singer James Taylor also tends to make an appearance in here as well. But then, under all that smoke of fame, we need to turn back that there is a human being who is still fighting for his life, and that showing signs of vulnerability is truly non-optional. This could be one of the more serious acting roles that Adam Sandler has done. Well, okay, Spanglish 2 also had a bit of some serious tones to it. I think there was also a movie he was in that involved around the World Trade Center, where he steps completely out of the comedy genre and transforms himself into a more dramatic role. But here, I gotta say, if you're looking for Adam Sandler to play another one of his trademark man-child, immature, loud, neurotic type characters here, you'll be a little disappointed. You're not going to see a Happy Gilmore or a Bobby Boucher or a Billy Madison here. You're going to see a much more mature leveled type of character that Adam Sandler is playing here. He's playing a little more restrained here than normal. A little more subtlety. So actually just goes to show you that Adam Sandler can be subtle when chosen to. He really tries to bring that into his into the movie. So Apatow and Sandler, they speak to their audience about the world of stand-up comedy and their methods in how to communicate, interact, and approach each other along the way. We see the do's and don'ts in stand-up, which ones are good, bad, and mediocre, and they're all handled equally. In addition, funny people actually lampoons bad television sitcoms and routine comedy, and its worst including Merman or My Best Friend is a Robot that George was to have co-starred with Owen Wilson. Oh yeah, I forgot he also makes an appearance too. Very, very limited. But yeah, there are some scenes that take place in TV studios where we're looking at terrible sitcoms. Merman. I wonder how many seasons that's going to last. My Best Friend is a Robot. Well, maybe that could probably last about maybe 4 or 5 seasons. Hey, you want to talk about lousy comedy? Back in the 80s, wasn't there a familiar comedy about an alien life form about a certain alien who crashes into the home of an ordinary family and changes their lives around? Does anybody actually remember Alf? Need I say more? Let us continue. So, under the layers of comedy, there is definitely a serious side to the story. And aside from Adam Sandler, I gotta also get hats off to the supporting cast. Seth Rogan shines as an excitable comedian driven by ambition. You know, the whole opportunity knocks things comes along. Leslie Mann definitely has more of a straight character as the love interest of George. Laura was the name of her character, aka the one that got away. This kind of probably has a nod to the whole Family Guy thing, you know, with Quagmire and Cheryl Teague, aka she's also the other definitive one that got away. Yeah, she's also in it. There are no cutting corners in the characters Apatow has provided. Jason Schwartzman is definitely also wonderful as a shallow but good-natured TV star, Mark Taylor Jackson. And also a very small performance from Eric Bana. He is terrific as Clark, who's married to Laura. He's a businessman embarking on a spiritual journey. In some ways, you kind of take pity for Eric Bana's character, Clark, when he discovers that Laura has decided to go back into the life of George Simmons. You know, at first George Simmons is, you know, well, he's telling the truth about his physical illness. And then when the doctors say that his leukemia has been put on remission, which means that he's now, I guess you could say, ill-free. He's now fine, but he still wants to continue to be in Laura's life, and he just tries to continue to conceal his illness just so that he and Laura could still stay together. So Apatow isn't afraid to exhibit the characters he has by making them truthful and adding realism to the stories they have to offer. With time, Apatow has taught us truth isn't the burden of comedy, but the signal of what its intentions are. Now, there are people who have written some negative stuff about this movie, saying that not one character is sincere and that every character in this movie are pretty much almost hypocritical. Be that as it may, but like I said, in the world of comedy and fame, it is practically dog eat dog. Everybody is after one thing and one thing only: opportunity. And opportunity knocks. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Everybody wants to have their fun the sun. Everybody wants to have their moment when the focus is on them. And this is what we get here. Everybody wants to become famous. You know, you start off in stand-up comedy. And that stand-up comedy, that fame could bring you to TV, to movies. And everybody wants to become famous. Ride in limos, flying jets, drinking champagne, eating caviar and hors d'oeuvres. living the life. But at the end, it all pays dividends. And do you find any happiness in that? I can't say. I'm not saying that people had benefited from it, but at the same time, insecurities come this way. And in the end, these guys, underneath all that wealth and luxury, they're all humans. They all suffer the same fate that an average person does. Doesn't make them all that powerful. Rich and power are not really synonymous with each other. And I think Apatow and Adam Sandler really convey that to us. They tell us that story and they bring it to life here. And I think they did a pretty effective job. This movie does not depend too heavily on toilet humor, potty jokes, or somebody being hit in the head with an iron or anything like that. And I got to admit, and I got to get hands off to Apatow for trying to take the transformation of a comedy to add some dramatic mystique to it. But I think he plays the game very, very effectively. And I truly, truly highly recommend that people see this movie if you are into comedy with a little bit of a serious twist to it. If there's a weakness to it, it is like another typical Judd Apatow movie where a comedy tends to go longer than it should. Maybe it should have went an hour and 46 minutes long, but I made a mistake with what I said by making it an hour and 46 when actually really it's 2 hours and 26 minutes long. You know, like I said, comedies should not be over 2 hours long if there was a weakness. But I think everything was handled out very well. The characters are all fleshed out and pretty much well developed. Sure, Adam Sandler takes the helm in most of the scenes, but then again, he's the leading character. But, you know, everybody else played a very good, effective, funny role. And when all said and done, if I was to give a scale out of 10, I would give Funny People a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend you check out this movie. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember, be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Corrupt Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.